尊敬的各位来宾、女士们、先生们，欢迎大家参加第15届长城有机奖的颁奖仪式。我是北京市常务副市长崔树强，今天的活动由我来主持。长城有机奖设立于1999年，是专为表彰在首都经济社会发展中做出杰出贡献的外国友人。这是北京市政府授予在京外国友人的最高奖项。第15届长城有机奖历经社会各界的推荐、评选，共有来自12个国家的15位外国友获此殊荣。在此，我们举办一个简约但隆重的颁奖仪式，向各位获奖者表示祝贺和感谢。今天在北京市人民政府现场出席颁奖仪式的领导有北京市市长陈吉宁先生、市政协副主席、市卫生健康委主任于鲁明先生，市政府秘书长戴彬彬先生，以及市政府外办、市科委、中关村管委、市经济和信息化局、市委组织部、市人才工作局的负责人。在分会场参会的有市教委、市人力社保局、市市场监管局、市金融监管局、北京经济技术开发区管委会的负责人。获奖者推荐单位、工作单位的代表等也在线上参会。下面我宣布第19届长城友谊奖获奖名单。15位获奖者分别是法国威利亚集团原全球高级执行副总裁、亚洲区和中国区董事长雷杰·卡麦斯先生。祝贺卡麦斯先生。北京银行董事、副行长魏德勇先生。祝贺魏德勇先生。俄罗斯实验医学研究所所长、北京儿童医院客座教授亚历山大·德米特里耶夫先生。祝贺德米特里耶夫先生。德国宝马集团大中华区总裁兼首席执行官高乐先生。祝贺高乐先生。德国拜耳医药健康有限公司处方事务部中国区财务副总裁、中国财务部负责人霍安先生。祝贺霍安先生。京东方科技集团股份有限公司高级副总裁、显示器事业部总经理金启婚先生。祝贺金先生。美国大都会集团全球副总裁、大都会人寿保险公司中国代表处首席代表马思忠先生。祝贺马思忠先生。2007年诺贝尔经济学奖获得者、清华大学名誉教授、美国哈佛大学亚当斯讲席教授埃里克·马斯金先生。祝贺马斯金先生。北京工业大学、北京都柏林国际学院软件工程专业主任亨利·伯纳德·麦克格林斯先生。祝贺麦克劳格林先生。法国空中客车公司原代理首席采购官、空中客车中国公司首席运营官马弗朗先生。祝贺马弗朗先生。瑞士雀巢大中华区董事长兼首席执行官罗士德先生。巴西布坦坦研究所所长、圣保罗大学教授、北京科兴中维生物技术有限公司巴西临床研究项目负责人迪马斯·科瓦斯先生。北京量子信息科学研究院量子物态科学研究部首席科学家、日本东北大学材料科学高等研究所名誉教授 德元胜乙先生，北京奔驰汽车有限公司总裁兼首席执行官方明博先生，中国科学院北京纳米能源与系统研究所资深研究员莫腾魏拉成先生。让我们再次以热烈的掌声向15位获奖者表示祝贺，感谢大家对北京经济社会发展做出的杰出贡献。各位获奖者都是行业精英翘楚，我们也特别想听听大家对北京发展的意见和建议。下面开始座谈交流，请结合当前形势、全市重点工作和各位所在的行业领域，我们设定了4个议题，请大家畅所欲言。第一个议题是维护汽车行业国际产业链和供应链稳定畅通，促进智能网联产业的发展。请北京奔驰总裁兼首席执行官方明博先生发言。
Thank you very much. Distinguished Mayor Chen, distinguished leaders, dear ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Firstly, let me start by saying that it is really a great honor for me to receive such an award. And it's also a great honor to get this recognition. Thank you very much. I have now been living and working in China for the last 5 years. I have in this time witnessed many changes, not only in China, also in Beijing. We have seen how Beijing has established itself as a world leader in innovation, in digitalization, in technology. And also over these last years, with great support of the Beijing government, of course, under the guidance and the support of our shareholders, both Bike Group and Daimler, our company, Beijing-Benz, in short, BBAC, as you might know, has grown very fast, and it has, in the meantime, become the largest, most comprehensive set of manufacturing plants for Mercedes-Benz globally. I think we all know that the journey over the last years have not always been easy, particularly since the outbreak of COVID-19. We have all experienced great support of Beijing from the government in many different aspects of our work, whether it's protection of our employees, both local employees and foreigners, and also, of course, on the support for resumption of our production and normalization for the market. And for this, we are very grateful. Having contained the pandemic situation in China, we have seen how China has also become the first to lead the world's economic recovery again. And as we've seen this market bouncing back, we've enjoyed, Mercedes-Benz particularly, also a positive growth momentum in China. And I want to emphasize that for us, this growth momentum is fueled by our local production here in China. This is a key driver for us. Now, I think we all are aware of multifaceted reasons why the automotive industry has been experiencing delays, particularly in the supply of semiconductor-related components. I think we have seen recently that we're able to react quickly to some of these supply disruptions. We all have, and particularly our company, of course, the primary goal to minimize the effects on our customers, to return the situation to stability as quickly as possible, to deliver vehicles to our customers as quickly as possible. And we have many joint teams that have been working very hard on various different measures, also in a very close cooperation, of course, with our suppliers, not only in China, globally, to minimize this impact. And so far, amidst difficult conditions, we have managed well. I would like to highlight 2 topics that we need to think about to improve the situation mid-term and long-term, topics that the industry needs to work on. The first one, of course, greater transparency in our supply chains. I think we have all become aware of a particular complexity that we have in the supply chains related to semiconductor components. These supply chains are long, they are complicated, and an important topic for us to improve is how to get better transparency through optimized inventory management on all fronts, over all tiers, through the whole supply chain. This is a topic which is important in projecting future supply constraints. It's important in how we react to bottlenecks, proactively especially. The second point I would like to raise, moreover, particularly for some of the vulnerable points that we have in our supply chains, is the diversification of capacity. It is crucial that we reduce source dependency, For example, many OEMs have to and will enable multi-source strategies, particularly looking also at regional diversity. I want to emphasize that the regional diversity is not only particular to the locations alone, it's also looking at effective alternatives for replacements in sources for different source allocations in a timely manner. And here, of course, particularly technical innovation is of great importance. I'm confident that with these joint efforts of all of our stakeholders and also with the support of government, of various institutions, the situation will continue to stabilize, although I think we all know that it continues to be difficult. It's clear China is by far the most important market in the world for Mercedes-Benz. We expect the biggest growth potential to be ongoing in the Chinese market, particularly for the premium sector. Just last week, we had the opportunity on our campus at BBAC to open our brand new Mercedes-Benz Research and Development Technology Center in China, and it has now also started its official operation. So this is an important factor for us. It's also important proof of our commitment to the long-term development for ourselves and for the Chinese economy. It is also a commitment to the capital's initiative of 4 centers, so to speak, particularly looking at innovation and technology advancement. As we know, Mercedes-Benz has an electric-only strategy, which we will continue to lead the industry's transformation. We have the goal that by the end of this decade, we will be 100% electric ready where market conditions allow. Of course, we are also supporting completely the carbon peak in China by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2060. And we really appreciate the fact that we've had the opportunity now to participate in the Green Powertrain pilot as one of the enterprises in Beijing. So looking to the future, of course, we seek to provide a diverse range of products for our customers in China, in line with our Mercedes-Benz global standards. And most importantly, we want to continue to contribute to high-grade development within Beijing, within China, to the technological advancement. And of course, we are deeply integrated in the 14th Five-Year Plan and our contribution to the 14th Five-Year Plan. In closing, I would also like to say to all the fellow participants, warm congratulations to you. And I would like to again say to the Beijing government, thank you for your support. Thank you for this recognition. 谢谢。
谢谢方明博先生的发言。下面请宝马集团大中华区总裁兼首席执行官高乐先生发言。
Thank you. Honorable Mayor Chen, Vice Mayor Cui, ladies and gentlemen, Dajia Wanchang-hao. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for being considered for this prestigious event award. And this is not only an honor for myself, but obviously also for BMW Group. I'm living in total now around 10 years here in Beijing, 4 years and now another 6 years, and receiving this award in my what I would call hometown is of course especially unique. Yeah? So I'm really deeply honored. I also would like to congratulate the Beijing government, because over the last 10, 15 years, I've seen many, many achievements. For example, when you look at the air quality, blue sky, you look at the cultural heritage protection, the revitalization of the Hutong. So all in all, I have to say congratulations. It's really a beautiful city to live in. So really, really well done. I would like to focus today, given the topic, on 3 themes. One is industrial upgrade and supply chain, talking about, secondly, digitalization, and then a quick outlook on the topic of sustainability, which of course is very important for our industry. Talking about supply chain and an investment in China, BMW and our joint venture partner BBA, we've invested around 64 billion RMB since 2009, and we're going to invest another 25 billion over the years to come. And we've localized most of our actually R&D, we've got 3 hubs in Beijing is one of our largest ones. And this is not just because especially we have to do this, but because of the technology and the competencies are here. We are also localizing, have localized high technology. For example, we were the first premium manufacturer to have a localized high voltage battery assembly line, which we're using for our local new energy vehicles. So all in all, I think, you know, the supply chain is growing. We've got more than 400 local suppliers, which are not only supplying us domestically, but many of them are now also integrated in our global supply chain. So when we talk about Industry 4.0, and the colleague mentioned before, high quality development, this is clearly happening. And in this regard, I would really urge one thing. I think what is important is that we have to keep unified and global standards, because the supply chains are now really interwoven. I think eventually supply interruptions will go away. We are going to enlarge our footprint, and we want to do this in China for China, but also in China for the world. So therefore, when we talk about standards, when we talk about charging standards, about NEV components, we have to really make sure that we have one global standard, so that we don't interrupt the supply chain maybe in some years because of different reasons. So this is the first topic, which I think is really critical. Secondly, about digitalization. I mean, China is clearly a lead market of digitalization, and this can be attributed to 3, I would say, things. First of all, you have a customer group which is digital native. You have a very strong government leadership towards digital and technology. And of course, you have got a lot of high-tech and digital enterprises. So this is why we localized a lot of our digital footprint customer journey here in China. Around 2.5 years ago, we created our BMW China Digital Services company called Lingyue. And Lingyue is based in Beijing. We've got around 250, 300 experts working out of Beijing, actually working quite next to the office I'm sitting in. And they are, for example, responsible for our My BMW app. To give you an idea, within only 12, 15 months, we've got now a user base of around 2.2 million users. And this has been developed in Beijing. And we're going to increase the number of people in our digital company towards 500 in the months to come. So this shows, for example, that Beijing is an excellent environment when it comes to digital talent. So therefore, I think we're really perfectly placed here. The third area I would like to touch on is sustainability. Of course, we really applaud China for setting very tough sustainability targets. The carbon peak in 2030 and net carbon neutrality in 2060 are indeed very ambitious, because this means between the carbon peak and net carbon neutrality, you have only 30 years. And when you look at most of the industrialized countries, actually, it takes them 30, 40, 50 years to achieve this. So I think the targets are tough. And BMW Group is very eager to contribute. You might know that we've set ourselves also very ambitious targets. We want to cut our footprint per vehicle produced by minus 40% between 2019 and 2030. And not only on the cars, on everything, supply chain, production, and used phase. And in this aspect, of course, battery electric vehicles and electric vehicles are one component, but as important is to rethink, to reuse, and to recycle materials. So what we will see in the next years, I think we will see a rise of the circular economy. We will see a growing importance of secondary materials. I mean, of course, also because some of the materials are simply becoming short of supply when you look at lithium. So this is an area where we are very keen on working closer together with the Beijing government, because I think a lot of concepts which work in the automotive industry can also be transferred to a city like Beijing. And here we are really happy to have conversations. So let me please close and once again express my sincere appreciation for the Beijing Great Wall Friendship Award. This is really a great honor. And similar also, I would like to congratulate my colleagues also for receiving this award. I would say when you look at Beijing, Beijing has great talent. It has a very strong leadership from the government perspective, and we've met with many Beijing officials, and I have to say I'm really impressed by the leadership of Beijing municipality government. Very, very strong enterprises. So all in all, we're extremely positive and optimistic on the long-term perspective, not only obviously of China, but also especially of Beijing, which is our home away from home. Thank you very much.
谢谢高乐先生。下面请清华大学名誉教授、美国哈佛大学亚当斯讲席教授马斯金先生发言。
Deep appreciation for this award from the Beijing government. I've been coming to Beijing and to China now for 25 years, although sadly not in the last year and a half due to the pandemic. And I've been amazed by all the changes I've seen, and in particular in the improvements I've seen in Tsinghua University, which is the Chinese institution I feel closest to. I'm an honorary professor at Tsinghua and have many ongoing projects with faculty and students at Tsinghua. I'd like to talk about supply chains and supply chain disruptions from the standpoint of an economist. I'm a theoretical economist, and I'm interested in what has been going on recently from a theoretical point of view. So let me try to give you my take on what has been happening. It's quite clear that goods, commodities in our modern economy have been getting increasingly complex. A typical good requires a larger and larger number of inputs. And the inputs themselves are getting more complex. So they too require more inputs. So it's this increasing complexity which has created the longer and longer supply chains. And of course, the longer a supply chain is, the greater the potential for disruption when there is a shock to the system. And the pandemic certainly has provided a major shock. Now, one way, of course, that a company can protect itself against supply chain disruptions, an important way, is to obtain a given input from multiple suppliers. And of course, this is what many companies do. They multi-source. But I'd like to point out that relative to what is needed for the whole supply chain, individual companies are not likely to multi-source sufficiently. And let me explain why they don't. If I'm a company and I need to obtain a range of different inputs in order to be able to produce, I will tend to do some multi-sourcing. However, I don't take account of the fact that my output is your input. And so not only am I protecting myself against disruption when I multi-source, but I'm protecting you. Since I don't take into account your benefits from multi-sourcing, I am likely to under multi-source relative to the entire supply chain. So each company will do some multi-sourcing on its own, but probably too little. And that's why it's important that the Beijing government, because Beijing is a great center for world commerce, should consider stepping in and providing direct incentives to companies doing business in Beijing to expand the set of sources from which they get their inputs. This is a suggestion that I lay on the table for Beijing leaders to consider. But let me say once again how honored I feel to be receiving this award, and let me thank the government of Beijing and congratulate my fellow award recipients. Thank you.
好，下面我们进入第二个议题的讨论。讨论的题目是深化开展国际科技创新合作，建设高水平的人才高地。将有4位先生参与讨论。首先，请中科院北京纳米研究所资深研究员魏拉成先生发言。
Just a second. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, sorry. Dear Mayor, dear official representatives, just as my previous colleagues explained, I'm deeply honored to receive the Great Wall Friendship Award of China and to be able to participate today online from Denmark in the celebrations. It's truly an honor that I know only a few foreigners in China receive, and outside China too, obviously. I would like to start out by briefly describing my own experience working and living in Beijing since October 2017. I have worked as a senior professor at the Beijing Institute of Nanoenergy and Nanosystems at the Chinese Academy of Sciences. And this employment became possible due to a Talent 1000 Foreign Expert Award. And I also appreciate very much, and would like to mention that particularly here, the support from the State Administration of Foreign Expert Affairs. So my scientific research is focused on 2 major research areas. And one is to develop a new theory of quantum piezoelectricity. Piezoelectricity is a well-known phenomenon of high technological importance, but the understanding of the phenomenon is still largely founded on classical physics. So we try to make quantum piezoelectric models using fundamental symmetry properties and use computationally intensive methods to determine material properties. And a second major area here is to develop theories for contact electrification. So we published the first quantum model for contact electrification by photon emission, which agrees quantitatively with experiments carried out here in Beijing. And these are essential ingredients to experimentally develop new triboelectric nano energy generators, which is one of the most promising technologies to meet increasing energy demands of the world. This technology is led by China and Beijing above all. So let me explain a little bit about my experience here and the challenges we have. So my first 3 years in Beijing, I've had visiting professors, postdocs, master and PhD students from Europe, United States, Russia, etc. And this has happened every second month a visitor came, which has been very stimulating for our research and for the interaction with the students in China. And they also had the chance, obviously, living in Beijing, which is so rich culturally, to explore the cultural and the social benefits of a very big city in the world. And our Chinese students catch fast the changing environment and openly interact with our foreign visitors. to the benefit of all. And it allows Chinese students and young Chinese professionals to create opportunities for future visit abroad, which is something very important for many Chinese young scientists to go out, get new inspiration, and come back to China and Beijing and use this to create new knowledge. So I also want to mention another interesting opportunity, which is that I made a promotion video for the city of Beijing in 2019. And even though I don't speak Chinese, my life is quite easy in Beijing. And this is something we need to sell probably better to the young people in the West to get them attracted to come here, that Beijing is an easy city to live in for a Westerner. And there's this great city life, obviously, with a lot of restaurants and foods and cultural possibilities that Beijing offers. Personally, I enjoy visiting the Olympic Park every week or so when I am in Beijing, and I look forward to be able to come back and experience the city again. So, as I said, Beijing is a fantastic city, and many foreigners will learn it when they come here, and they learn it in very short time when they visit us here in Beijing. So a good thing is also that Beijing provides excellent opportunities for traveling in and out by airplanes, and this is something which is obviously also important for easy traveling. I want to say now that China is certainly today one of the, if not the only country that continuously and seriously upgrade investments in basic sciences and technology. There's an understanding from the Chinese people and society that science and technology are key factors for future growth, as well as environmental sustainability that we have already discussed, and which is so important. And significant scientific and financial support is available here to make the best research ideas flourish. Such support provides the necessary time to allow scientists in Beijing to focus on their best research ideas and to get experimental support to verify them. So these were the primary reasons for me to decide to work in Beijing. And it is, as I said before, it's a learning that our foreign visitors recognize when they visit our labs, our top-notch facilities, and the dedication of the scientists in China. One of the major truths, and this has always been like that in scientific collaboration, is that the more different people, the more different research environments, cultures, and ideas we mix together, the better ideas come out to the benefit of society. And it promotes and improves the understanding between people. So basic and applied research is a long-term investment, but the most effective way to promote groundbreaking results in science and technology is to establish collaboration between the best scientists around the world. And this is something China knows and really has been a world leader in for many years. So let me now finish with some points on how China and Beijing can improve building up top-notch international scientific and technological hubs and promote exchange of foreign scientists and highly skilled people in all areas of technology, actually. So I think the most important point to address for foreigners in deciding to move to Beijing is to strive to make English become the daily communication language at all levels in research and technology institutions. In non-English speaking countries in Europe, for example, in smaller countries like Denmark, the Netherlands, Sweden, etc., English is the primary communication language in high technology companies, research institutions, and universities. As a result, approximately 50% of all employees at my previous university, Technical University of Denmark, they come from other countries than Denmark, and many of them from Asia. So if we go back 20 or more years when Danish was the primary language, only approximately 10 to 20% were foreigners. So I think speaking and having communication in written in English is so important for people to decide to come to Beijing. So another very important point is the flexibility for traveling in and out of China, and the excellent airport connections from Beijing is one extremely important point. So I hope if the rules and administrative paperwork for scientists and high-skilled foreigners and families to move in and out of China could be relaxed compared to today, it would certainly benefit foreigners' interest to move to China as well. So I want to say one thing also here, and that is salaries for experienced scientists in Beijing are high and attractive, which is obviously an important factor. But in order to really build international competitive scientific hubs, we need also to be able to attract younger people like international PhD students, younger professionals, postdocs, junior professors. I have experienced here difficulties in attracting foreign PhD students and younger professionals to move to Beijing, since salaries at that level cannot really compete with what they can get in, for example, Europe. I would hope this problem can be addressed in future, because it is a major point for developing top-notch scientific hubs to have the younger people coming to China, and not only the very experienced professors. So once these first international scientific and high technology top-notch hubs emerge from Beijing, more will come, and they will come at increasing speed. It's a highly non-linear process, so I'm sure it will seriously stimulate collaboration at all levels and exchange of faculty and students between Beijing and abroad. I will also say that I'm confident that as soon as more foreign scientists at all levels experience how easy and good life is in Beijing, and they hear this message from a larger amount of foreign scientists and highly skilled people working in China, then more talented people will also come to Beijing. With a growing talent mass of Chinese and foreigners working together in Beijing, an even stronger positive development of Beijing city will happen in science and technology. Beijing must make sure that the whole family is happy living here. One important point for Beijing to address is to continue improving the air quality. I have experienced how the air quality in Beijing has improved steadily since my first visits in 2004 and 2015, and especially since 2017. This is a major point of importance for a young family in deciding to move to Beijing to establish a life here. Another important area is to strengthen the opportunity for the wife or husband of foreign scientists to contribute to Beijing through good job opportunities for them, and to allow even better access to international school. This is essential for a foreign family in deciding whether Beijing is a place to fully settle. So finally, I want to conclude my speech here by again expressing my deep gratitude to Beijing and China for the support I've received since 2017 when I started here. The Great Wall Friendship Award that I today receive is a strong recognition. It's very strong recognition, and it is only with pleasure I accept to serve as a lifelong science and technology promoter for China in Denmark and vice versa. Thank you.
谢谢魏拉成先生。下面请京东方科技集团高级副总裁金启运先生发言。
Yeah,
金启
it's
混
my
先生。
great honor. It's my great honor to receive the Great Wall Friendship Award. I would like to appreciate Beijing government for setting up such a kind award that makes those foreigners in Beijing could feel the care from the government. And I also thank the BOE and its innovation strategy. I could join the BOE and make this kind of achievement. When it comes to BOE's innovation strategy, The history should be firstly mentioned. BOE was founded in April 1993 and identified the TFT-LCD industry as the main direction for the development in year 2000. The time that TFT-LCD industry had entered into the stage of the mass production. The Japanese and Korean company has the first mover advantage, while BOE has big technical and professional barriers at that time. It would be the slow process and rely on independent research and development. So BOE acquired South Korea high-dis TFT-LCD business, marking the entry into the field of the TFT-LCD in 2003. This merger and acquisition gave me the opportunity to work in BOE. I joined the high-dis in South Korea in year 2000 and came to the BOE in 2004. In the past 7 years, I have experienced the role transition from the ordinary sales to the senior vice president of the BOE display business group. In other words, I joined and witnessed the process of the BOE innovative development and independent research and international growth and value chain empowering. In the past 28 years, BOE has made China display industry growth from the beginning and become a leading the company in global semiconductor display industry. With the revenue of the more than 100 billion RMB in the first half of the 2021, BOE has the leading the display industry to form a pattern of the one super, many stronger. Now, more than 1/4 of the global smart display panel are made by BOE. What makes BOE breakthrough numerous obstacles and obtain the rapid development? I think innovation contribute a lot. Especially speaking, the first comes to the patent innovation. As of the 2020, there are more 70,000 available patents for BOE, with over 90% invention patent of the yearly new application and more than 35% of the overseas patent, including the US, Europe, Japan, South Korea, and the other countries. About the 7% of the 8% of the BOE's revenue is invested to the research and development of the innovative technologies. And BOE ensure the internal percentage of the R&D employee. The second point is the technology innovation. In the field of the TFT-LCD, ADS Pro technology was innovated independently by BOE, and a lot of high-end LCD product series was launched based on this wide view angle technology that achieved the new breakthrough of the high color gamut and high refresh rate and narrow border display. It can be bring the better performance for consumer. This technology also contributes to global product debut and innovation breakthrough in the traditional application of TV, IT, and mobile product. The third is the application innovation. BOE has kept expanding the application area, which applying its integrated capability of the display, sensing, and system device to the field of the transformation, automobile display, home, office, security, education, communication, and so on. The application and breakthrough in this innovative application field has covered more than 35 product categories. This is also become a new growth point of the BOE performance. BOE owns more than 10 production lines and R&D centers in different areas in China, including 2 production lines and R&D organization in Beijing. And BOE now has paid 5.78 billion RMB for tax in total in the past 3 years. The worldwide classic high generation TFT LCD line Gen 8.5 in Beijing was independently constructed by BOE with independent protocol line. Its construction not only marked in the first Gen 8.5 line in China, but also changed the history of the relying on import for large-size LCD screen and filled the gap in China industry. BOE is not only the manufacturing enterprise, but also innovative enterprise. Based on the years' innovation, experience, and industrial insight, BOE also proposed the strategy of the transformation to IoT in 2016. It's acknowledged that BOE's contribution is necessary to the Beijing economic growth. It is the BOE strategy of the ruling in Beijing, distributing across the country and operating all over the world that achieved the development of the BOE, even Beijing. And we hope more innovative enterprise like BOE could be introduced into Beijing. For example, Beijing Digital TV International Park centered on BOE's Gen 8.5 factory with lots of the global 500 enterprise attractive to surround it, such as Corning and TPV and Sumitomo Chemical and so on. Those industries, along with secondary material supply nearby, provide key material like liquid crystal glass and chemical and so on. With investment of about 65 billion RMB, the international park is expected to build an industrial cluster with more than 100 billion RMB and providing almost 20,000 employment opportunities. BOE's experience could be regarded as a successful case for Beijing to expand more scientific and technological innovation to various industries across the country and eventually to the world. And BOE will play a crucial role in this progress. In the recent year, BOE has firmly kept opening up the application and technology and making collaborative innovation with global brand so that win together in market segment of IoT. Thank you very much.
好，谢谢金启坤先生。下面请北京量子信息科学研究院首席科学家古原胜己先生发言。
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. And it's great honor to receive the Great Wall Friendship Award in Beijing, in China. So first of all, I sincerely express my sincere thanks to my old friends and colleagues staying in Beijing, other cities in China. I come from Japan. Now I belong to Beijing Academy, Quantum Information Sciences, so-called BAQS, strongly supported by the Beijing government. Let me start, much better to start my talk with my previous experiences in various countries all over the world. When I was very young, early 20s to late 20s, I thought it's much better to go foreign countries with long distance places away from Japan, not Asian countries. At this time, I tried to educate myself other languages, addition to English, like a German. I selected several countries, including United States, UK, Italy, and Germany, and France. As you also aware of the similar fashions about the other countries, the most important issues what I felt is the cultures and features are strongly dependent on the countries. So there are very large amount of the differences. For example, in the States, you have to be very confident and have to make very strong opinions, negotiations, arguments, so that you can be respected. In Germany, I learned how the people strictly obey the law and rules so that they can formalize their societies. So in Italy, light-hearted attitude towards life and other persons are very convenient to make my life easier. Based on this kind of the experiences, I try to open my horizon to understand of course, myself and the tours all over the world, and I can be some internalizations in these situations. When I became slightly old, like the middle of 40s, I decided it's a time to focus my attention to Asian countries. I tried to invite many scientists and young researchers and students from China using my funds to Japan, supported by Japanese government. The first visit for me to Beijing, coming back to around 2009, if I correctly remember the year. At that time, I had a conference in Seoul in Korea. After finishing the conference, I moved to Beijing City to visit my old friends and colleagues who are staying in Beijing. Peking University and Beihai University and Institute of Physics, IOP. Then afterwards, I moved to North area in China, Jilin City, and Chongqing area. And afterwards, I had a good meeting with my colleagues. The second visit to Beijing, 2011. In this year, we have very important nanotechnology conference in Tsinghua University. As the member of the international colleagues, the society, I have to attend this kind of meeting. We try to organize with my colleagues in China. At this time, the H1N1, some influenza started to influence some China in Beijing. But we have successfully opened the conference in Beijing City. 2020, I decided to come to Beijing and join the Beijing Academy of Quantum Information Sciences. I started to build up my research lab for pursuing the very important quantum information sciences towards the future in China. So at this time, as a coincidence, the COVID-19 became very epidemic all over the world. After coming to Beijing, I was very impressed that the Chinese government took care very careful measures and very good governance in controlling the coronavirus. I thought this kind of the way of doing reshaped the feeling of thinking way of other countries to attract to Beijing City more in the future. I have been spending many years in Japan, and now I joined the Beijing Quantum Information Sciences and started my new life. Under my experiences, getting in touch with other cultures in foreign countries gives us very important issues which cannot be available only by reading books. I think this kind of opportunity should be given to other talents in foreign countries who are willing to come to Beijing in the future. I'm now very excited to see some future of Beijing City in China. The way of thinking in young generations, they are now slightly reshaping the think of thought, and the economy and social systems which were tremendously improved, what I experienced in the past. And I would like to see goals and ambitions that young generations and present people have and will have in the future. Imagine to realize this kind of internalizations all over the world in Beijing, various considerations should be given. Mutual personal interactions among Chinese natives and international talents should be required. In order to pursue and proceed the internalizations in Beijing City, so various things are very important. Just here, I try to say 3 things. The first is transportations and traffics in Beijing City. After seeing the progress and innovations and recommendations, I see still some problems in big traffic jams, and also according to the law, it should be improved to attract other country people more in Beijing. Second issue is, I understand the importance of protection and security of information. So however, as a scientist, I have to see the very rapid progresses in science and technology updated all over the world. In those situations, the information available from website is very important. I hope to better situations in the future, access to the website in science technology. The third one is, of course, recently a lot of investments were made and many high-tech equipment are used in China, like a hospital, the experience and also the better situations. So however, important issue is in the future, China itself should develop their original and very important equipment and technology, which should be distributed to change the situation all over the world. Now, I think it's much better to learn Chinese. So as fourth language, I try to learn Chinese more. So it's very exciting for me to see what's going on in the next 10 years in China, in Beijing. Thank you very much.
谢谢国元胜己先生。下面请北京工业大学北京都柏林国际学院软件工程专业主任麦克劳格林先生发言。
Mayor Chen, distinguished guests, colleagues and friends. It gives me great pleasure to accept this honour from the city and people of Beijing. I'm truly humbled that you would acknowledge my small contribution in such a manner. I'd like to offer my congratulations to my fellow awardees today. I would like to speak briefly about some of my experiences since I came to the city, and to mention some of the things that I've learned and which might help others in the future as we seek to further develop scientific and cultural cooperation. And I'll finish then with just a few words of a more personal nature. When the previous mayor of Beijing made the wise suggestion about 10 years ago when visiting Dublin, that having scholarly links between our two cities would be beneficial, my own university, UCD, took up the invitation. I became involved at a joint college with colleagues in BJUT when it was in the planning stage, and I've been delighted to contribute to the planning, development and growth as we turned our idea into reality. When the college started, we had two teams, one from BJUT and one from UCD, and they were formed and tasked with making it succeed. Both teams contained some outstanding and dedicated members who put in a huge effort. But in the beginning, it was clear that it was still two teams. However, gradually, the members of the teams grew to know each other. They were willing to accept that neither had all the answers to the challenges that faced us, and they were willing to listen and learn from each other. And so over time, the two teams faded, and we began to see a single team emerge, the BDIC team. And this team forged a single strong identity. And this, I think, greatly enhanced the attractiveness of BDIC. About 4 or 5 years ago, we were starting to see the fruits of our work. Our programs were graduating excellent students. Many of these were going on to do postgraduate work, both in China and abroad. And quite a number of them came to Dublin, to UCD, to do their PhD degrees. And now the next wave of success is almost upon us, because many of these students are about to graduate with their PhDs, and they're going to continue to research in their chosen fields. Now, I'm aware that there's ongoing joint research being planned between these students and their supervisors and the research teams they've been working with. Having such joint research projects is really going to strengthen the bond between the universities, and that's going to point the way towards very long-term cooperation. So to reflect on the journey that we've been on and to draw some lessons, it's true that we've achieved great success and there are indications that a more bountiful harvest awaits us. But success doesn't come overnight and it's never guaranteed. To achieve what we've done has required time, very dedicated people, mutual respect, and a real willingness to listen to each other and to be open to new ideas. The university systems and regulations are quite different between China and Ireland, and it takes time to understand the similarities and differences and to find ways to accommodate both universities without compromising their values and beliefs. And this was really helped because we avoided having a high staff turnover and we retained people who had developed knowledge of both systems. It was also particularly useful to have staff from Ireland live and work in Beijing for long periods of time, and to have Chinese staff frequently visiting Ireland. It was also useful for the academic staff to understand that in addition to just imparting knowledge of the specialist subjects, they were also engaged in building cultural bridges. And I'm happy to say that staff showed a willingness to participate in cross-cultural events. And we were lucky to attract such staff, and I would like to acknowledge their contribution. BDIC have been able to provide our students with an international experience and exposure to Western styles of education, but all that while they're still living here in China. Our teaching is done through English, so they become familiar with and confident in using the language. And we believe that this has given our graduates a real advantage, because if they then choose to study abroad, they're prepared for many of the cultural adjustments that they would face. We're also lucky that our leadership team has some outstanding people who had a vision of what could be achieved, and who encouraged and facilitated our work. And their contribution was very significant. And I'd like to finish on a more personal reflection. This award acknowledges my humble contribution to the city and people of Beijing, but I'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge another and possibly bigger contribution. And that is the huge contribution that the city and people of Beijing have made to my life. I have found a second home here. I really love living here. And quite a number of my Irish friends, if they call me when I'm here, they know that I'm in China because they can hear it in my voice. They say, "You are sounding happy." So for all of this, I would like to say, thank you, Beijing. Thank you so much.
谢谢麦克劳格林先生。接下来我们进行第3个议题的讨论，题目是开展国际抗疫合作，促进医药健康产业发展。首先，请北京科兴中维生物技术有限公司巴西临床研究项目负责人科瓦斯先生发言。
Distinguished guests, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honored and grateful to have been chosen as the Great Wall Friendship Award recipient in 2021. This award is a testimony of how the partnership between Brazil and China can create a great and positive impact on humanity. All the accomplishments are not something that I did alone. And there are many others who deserve to share this award. I would like to thank all the Butantan Institute team and the government of São Paulo for work together in this project and saved millions of people. Also, I must thank the Sinovac team. I began cooperating with Sinovac team before the coronavirus pandemic outbreak in early 2019, and more intensively from June 2020, when Butantan Institute led the implementation of Coronavac's third phase of the clinical trial in Brazil. And since then, we have faced so many challenges together. One of the main challenges we have faced together was that despite Coronavac has performed very well in preventing deaths, serious illnesses, and thus reducing hospitalization rates, and on the top of that, demonstrate to have the safety profile among other vaccines options in the market, we have realized that new evaluation criteria should be created for vaccines developed and put to use during a pandemic situation, replacing the current vaccine evaluation criteria that often emphasize low infection rates. Existing rules where low infection rates are the main evaluation criteria are more suitable to evaluating vaccines developed during endemics, not during pandemics. And for the first time in the fight against a coronavirus, we have developed a vaccine during a pandemic. In this case, what is important is precisely the prevention of death and serious illness to reduce hospitalization rates. Other important challenge we have faced together was to launch immunization campaign as early as possible to fight coronavirus pandemic in its early stages. And thanks to Coronavac, we had access to a vaccine in early 2001, enabling the Brazilian government to launch the Brazil's national immunization campaign. Today, Coronavac is the largest used vaccine around the world. More than 2 billion doses delivered to more than 40 countries. And in Brazil alone, more than 100 million doses were applied. Without the dedicated support received through our partnership with Sinovac and from the Chinese government, the success in Coronavac's development simply would not have been possible. The award has caused me to further reflect about the current situation, and unfortunately, the pandemic is not over. Many people are still suffering with COVID-19, and many more will have to live with the consequences of this terrible disease. I will not stop here. I will continue my effort to offer people around the globe with scientific breakthroughs and by continuing to strengthen our strategic relationship with China and with our Chinese partners. Thank you.
谢谢科瓦斯先生。下面请拜耳医药处方药事业部中国区财务副总裁霍安先生发言。
Thank you. Major Chen Jining, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Let me first of all express my deep gratitude for receiving this prestigious award. I'm deeply honored, and I offer my congratulations to my fellow awardees as well. I have been living and working in Beijing for more than 5 years now, after having worked in several other countries before. Let me begin with some general observations. When living and working in another country, you hope to find, to my experience, at least 3 things. Firstly, a safe and healthy place. Now, Beijing, safety is beyond doubt. We never had to have any concerns about going anywhere at any time. And Beijing became a healthy place too, in particular with the improved air quality that we could observe over the last 5 years, pretty significant, but also with excellent medical infrastructure and access to all medicine and treatment that anyone needs. Secondly, you want to be treated with respect and not to be discriminated against local people. That's unfortunately not to be taken granted. In Beijing at work, as well as in private life, we always felt welcomed and never treated unfairly just because of our origin. That, I believe, is very important to anyone working and living abroad. Thirdly, you want to find an environment where you can work successfully, because this is the reason why ultimately you are here. Not only that we are benefiting from the supportive and business-friendly environment that Beijing is offering, what impressed me most is the positive attitude, the diligent and hard work, and in particular the pragmatism and agility of the Chinese people. Therefore, I truly enjoy working with my Chinese colleagues. COVID-19 continues to be a challenge to the world, and government authorities and experts around the globe are fighting against the pandemic. Close cooperation amongst countries and all other parties is critical during such a challenging time. The employees of my companies, both in China and in other countries, have been doing everything in their power to assist the Chinese government and the Chinese people in their efforts to curb the spread of the virus. Amongst others, Bayer jointly with industry associations and partners organized dozens of anti-epidemic exchange activities connecting Chinese experts with Asia Pacific, Europe, and Latin America, facilitating sharing China's successful anti-epidemic work globally. Considering the consistent progress in prevention and control of the pandemic that we have seen in China, I'm confident that we will be able to ultimately win the combat against the pandemic to finally return back to normal. While jointly fighting the pandemic, let's not forget that there is a lot of other unmet medical needs. Since 2017, Bayer has brought 16 innovative drugs and new indications to China. We are conscious of our social responsibility and are committed to further accelerating innovation and to bringing even more new products addressing unmet medical need into China, especially in the areas of cancer, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. As a life science company with more than 130 years of service to the Chinese people, we are committed to our purpose, which is science for a better life. Let me also take the opportunity to offer a few suggestions regarding the development of the pharmaceutical industry in Beijing. In September 2020, the State Council announced its support for Beijing's establishment of a free trade area featuring technology, innovation, open service industry, and digital economy. Beijing-based pharmaceutical enterprises are looking forward to benefiting from the announced free trade area policies. In October 2021, Bayer started taking advantage of the favorable policy of Boao Licheng International Medical Tourism Pilot Zone. Boao, the first Chinese patient, received our innovative continuous glucose monitoring device. And going forward, many more diabetic patients in China will be benefiting from this novel blood sugar monitoring system. With the new opportunities of reform, Bayer is looking forward to working with Beijing to establish the Beijing Technology Innovation Free Trade Area. As a company deeply rooted in Beijing, we are looking forward to learning from the Licheng model and, for instance, enable faster import of innovative medicines to Beijing. Beijing hosts a large number of high-tech enterprises, scientific research institutions, has a leading R&D and academic capabilities, and started recently setting up research hospitals. We are confident that Beijing can become a domestically leading international first-class innovation base where a medical free trade area could be adding additional value, for instance, by adopting elements of the Licheng model. Medicines and devices that are already marketed overseas but not in China can be used in the pilot area. As of August 21, the number of approved important licensed medicine and medical devices in the area has exceeded 170. By storing medicine and medical devices at public customs warehouses in advance, the average new drug or device evaluation duration was reduced from 28 to 3 to 7 days. The traditional patients are waiting for treatment has changed to treatment is waiting for patients. By accelerating new drug or device registration and launches in China through real-world evidence data collection, and by promoting the application of gene and stem cell therapy. Last but not least, with the implementation and rollout of volume-based procurement in China, the pharmaceutical industry is undergoing significant transformation that is creating great challenges for the industry. To facilitate the required transformation of the Beijing-based pharmaceutical enterprises, the local government could consider providing practical support in terms of policies, incentives, and attracting talent, ultimately also helping enterprises to accelerate introducing advanced technologies and bringing product formulation to China. Finally, it is a great honor for the company and for me personally to receive the Great Wall Friendship Award presented by the Beijing government. It is a great recognition of our contribution to the economic and social development of Beijing. On behalf of the company, let me thank you not only for the award, but also for your continuous support and help to foreign companies and international employees. Thank you very much.
谢谢霍安先生。下面请北京儿童医院客座教授德米特里耶夫先生发言。
Dear Mayor, dear friends, dear colleagues, dear Yang Laoshi, I see you also joined this important meeting, the person who did a lot for our international cooperation between Beijing Children's Hospital and St. Petersburg Institute for Experimental Medicine. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to all the friends and colleagues from the Beijing Children's Hospital who nominated me as a nominee for the Great Wall Friendship Award. To receive such award is a great honor for me. I understand that in addition to my personal contribution to the science and healthcare, this is primarily a recognition of the value and effectiveness of our joint research. Of the joint research we did for many, many years, research which were done
by the specialists of Beijing Children's Hospital and Institute of Experimental Medicine, Russia. We cooperated for about 30 years. My first visit to China, to Beijing, was in 1995, and since that time, almost every year I was coming to this city. I was coming to my friends. We did experiments. We did a lot. We tried a lot to improve the healthcare, to prevent children from the infectious diseases, to establish new diagnostic procedures, and so on. This award is the result of support that we have always received and felt from the governments and leaders of both countries, China and Russia. Especially important, I think it's very important that this award for the research in infectious diseases is doing in the period of pandemic, of coronavirus pandemic, the global problem that currently has unified, that currently has united scientists and doctors from all over the world. I would like to know the courage and dedication of medical workers. I remember well the period of 2003, the first epidemic, the SARS, atypical pneumonia epidemic. I remember how my friends, Chinese specialists, Chinese doctors, quickly mobilized all their efforts to resist this infection. And currently, all the efforts of microbiologists, doctors, biologists, scientists are aimed to resist a new pathogen. Of course, there are many other pathogens except coronavirus, pathogens of the human diseases. And for many of them, for this 30-year period, our friends from Beijing Children's Hospital and my institution, we developed several protocols, several procedures, several treatment methods, and implemented them in practical healthcare, in the clinical practice. Especially important that the Beijing Children's Hospital pay the huge attention to the health of the children. I would say that the health of the nation is equal is the health of the children, because it depends on the health of the children. Importantly, that we are doing, and we did a lot, especially to translate our research, translate our ideas in the clinical practice. The rapid translation of the laboratory research into medicine. We say it translational medicine. From the beginning, from the first idea, which come in the brain of the researchers, through the reaction tubes, through the experiments, in silico experiments, in vitro experience in vivo, to the clinical practice. I think it is very important, especially in the current period. All of us know that it is important to do effective research, to get a good results only by one researcher, only by a small researcher team, even the laboratory. Especially in this period, it is necessary to combine efforts of scientists, IT scientists, doctors, biologists, students, researchers, and many other specialists to get a good results. If you look at the brilliant publications in PubMed database, we can see that there is no papers with only one author. Many authors from different labs, from different institutions, even different countries. Only working together, we can get good results and help people. Of course, the current enemy, the coronavirus, is not the last microorganism which has not been previously known. Of course, many other pathogens will come to human population from animals, from other sources. It's biology, it's clear. But from my personal point, another thing is important, that all our experience, the experience of biologists and doctors, experience of Chinese and Russian scientists, our knowledge, our scientific, our methodological, clinical, and educational experience is very important to other in order to quickly resist new pathogens, pathogenic, bacterial, and viruses. And these experiments of the specialists of Beijing Children's Hospital and St. Petersburg Institute for Experimental Medicine is really huge. Now it is COVID-19 epoch. It is COVID-19 period. My colleagues from my institute are working on principally new vaccine candidate against coronavirus. It is based on probiotic bacteria. We expressed the epitope of S protein on the pili of bacteria. And this probiotic bacteria can work as a probiotic, as a good friend for human, and also as a protective source against pathogen. If it works, it can be quickly exploited to another pathogens which possibly come to human population. I would say that effective results of any study depends on how the people feel in the circle of their colleagues. Whether they work as a team, or whether they work as a friends, whether they work together. And I would say, in my personal opinion, that the kindest, sincere, and devoted people, excellent scientists and doctors, my best friends work in the Beijing Children's Hospital. And I'm grateful to fate for giving me the opportunity to come to Beijing Children's Hospital, the People's Republic of China, the city of Beijing, almost every year. In the circle of Chinese friends, I feel like a native person. I feel at home. I feel like at home, my hometown. I'm very grateful to the People's Government of Beijing Municipality for awarding the Great World Friendship Award as a sign, not just for me, as a sign of recognition of the efforts of people from two institutions, from two brother countries, China and Russia, in the fight against infectious diseases. Thank you so much. 谢谢。
好，感谢德米特里耶夫先生。下面我们进入第4个议题的讨论，题目是城市碳达峰、碳中和的路径选择。首先，请威利亚集团原全球高级副总裁卡麦斯先生发言。
Dear Mayor, Mr. Chen Jing, dear leaders, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I feel really very much honored to receive the Beijing Great Wall Friendship Award just after my retirement. It's an honor not only for my personal career, but also for the company I have worked for. Beijing is one of my favorite cities around the world. I have lived and worked in China for more than 2 decades. For so many times I could not remember, I have visited municipal officials and elites, attended business negotiations, and participated in high-profile conferences. I've been impressed by the globalization view of the city and of its government. Today, China has announced that carbon emissions should peak in 2030 and carbon neutrality will be reached in 2060. As the capital of China and one of the earliest cities to reach carbon emissions peak, Beijing plays a leading role in energy saving and decarbonization, so that other Chinese cities, or even all over the world, can copy and learn from it. From my former group's perspective, energy industry, and especially heavy industry, and buildings are the categories for green transformation. First of all, Beijing should push reductions of waste and carbon emissions from the source. In municipal energy supply and management, the city should increase the proportion of new and renewable energy, such of course as wind and solar power, hydrogen, geothermal energy, but also comprehensive utilization of biomass, kitchen waste, forestry and agricultural waste in order to build a flexible, safe and smart energy supply system. Secondly, the city should enhance compliance and emission reductions during the process. Service industry is a major contributor to Beijing economic growth. Buildings are one of the main sources of emissions. Beijing can set up low emissions building standards and push energy and indoor air quality management for buildings. In this way, not only the energy performance in heating, cooling, lighting, and hot water supply will be optimized, but also the air safety risks in buildings can be lowered. Meanwhile, the city should push pollution treatment outsourcing. The high-end producers and industrial parks could be encouraged to outsource difficult-to-treat pollution to a professional third-party environmental service company, which helps to achieve environmental compliance and material recycling. Thirdly, Beijing should promote recycling and reuse at the end of production procedure. Carbon capture, usage, and storage technology is an important decarbonization tool. As one of the earliest cities which pilot carbon emissions trade system, Beijing should accelerate development and adoption of carbon capture technology and explore the market of CO2 reuse. In adding forest carbon sinks, I'm happy to see the recent sprawling of forest belts and nature parks across the city. They are helpful in building a harmonious environment. By doing this, Beijing is expected to become a world-leading city in protecting urban biodiversity. Finally, I would like to thank Mayor Mr. Chen Jining and the Beijing municipal government again for the great honor they give me and for my former group. I remember the days where Mr. Chen and I discussed the future development of Chinese environmental industry and technology in the campus of Tsinghua University. You have struck me with your wisdom and insights. I strongly believe that under your leadership, Beijing will start a new chapter of high quality and green development. Thanks again, Mr. Mayor.
谢谢卡麦斯先生。下面请北京银行董事、副行长魏德勇先生发言。
Honorable Mayor Chen, before I will share my thoughts on green finance strategies to facilitate carbon neutrality, I first want to show my sincere gratitude for receiving the Great Wall Friendship Award today. I am very aware of the importance of this award. My family and I enjoy living in Beijing, and I now feel even more encouraged to contribute to Beijing's economic and social development in my role as Executive Director and Vice President at Bank of Beijing. Dear Mayor Chen and guests, the climate issue has become an urgent challenge for the world and calls for proactive and joint efforts of all parties. To achieve the goals of carbon emission peaking and carbon neutrality, energy, manufacturing, and consumption will go through a broad and deep green reform in which the financial sector will for sure play an important role. As a foreigner, having worked in the Chinese banking sector for over 8 years and in Asia for 14 years, I am delighted to share with you some insights and initiatives on how the financial sector will contribute to carbon neutrality. First, carbon neutrality brings significant opportunities and challenges to financial institutions. To realize the goals of carbon emission peaking and carbon neutrality, additional financing is needed. This provides ample opportunities for the financial sector. But at the same time, banks also need to speed up their own transformation, further upgrade and optimize their management frameworks by introducing the ESG philosophy. Banks also need to enrich green finance services and incorporate climate and environmental risks into their comprehensive risk management systems to adapt to the challenges brought by the new market environment. With the continuous enrichment of green finance policies and infrastructure, carbon neutrality will create at the end of the day more opportunities than challenges to banks. And banks will enjoy a period of important strategic opportunities. Second, green finance practices of Bank of Beijing. Bank of Beijing was one of the first banks that cooperated with IFC on the China Utility-Based Energy Efficiency Finance Program. We embedded the green concept into our development and are constantly making new explorations and starting initiatives in green development. Especially since the goals of carbon emission peaking and carbon neutrality were introduced, green finance has become the key direction of our strategic transformation, and service model and support for green finance has been strengthened in multiple dimensions. We released the Green Finance Plus brand, launched Tongzhou Green Branch, issued the first carbon-neutral SME financial bond in the interbank markets in China, and conducted the first loan pledged with carbon emission quota in Beijing. This way, Bank of Beijing is making continuous contributions to the construction of the International Center of Green Finance in Beijing. Meanwhile, Bank of Beijing formulated a 5-year action plan for green finance and will provide more than 300 billion yuan of green financing for the real economy in the next 5 years. Third, measures to deepen green finance development that Bank of Beijing plans to take in the future. Bank of Beijing will make efforts in the following 4 aspects to drive the achievement of carbon emission peaking and carbon neutrality goals. 1. Provide high-quality financial services. Bank of Beijing will actively play a leading role in resource allocation by continuously increasing funding for green industries such as energy conservation, environmental protection, clean energy, clean production, green upgrading of infrastructure, and ecological and green services. Furthermore, we will provide professional financial service for the energy-saving transformation and upgrading of traditional industries. This to ensure a smooth and sustainable adjustment of the regional economic structure. 2. Strengthen model innovation. Based on local green finance resources, Bank of Beijing will enhance product innovation, launch comprehensive financial solutions for key industries with high demand for green funding, and explore the coordination of high-tech finance plus green finance and cultural finance plus green finance in order to diversify the green financial service system. 3. Improve professional capability. We will build a strong green finance talent team and improve our professional level and research capability to capture the opportunities of regional economy and green finance development. We will develop specialized branches to extend green financial services to certain market segments and regions. This way, we can respond to market demands more rapidly and professionally and serve our customers more efficiently. While enlarging the size and improving the quality of green finance, it is also necessary to improve ESG risk management in a comprehensive way. 4, and last, strengthen cooperation with different parties. Bank of Beijing will actively strengthen cooperation with government departments, research institutes, consulting companies, and third-party service providers to improve the quality and efficiency of regional green development. In the future, Bank of Beijing will also increase exchanges and strategic cooperation with ING and other international financial institutions in the fields of green finance and ESG to deepen integration of international experience with the domestic market in green finance management, green bonds, and environmental information disclosure. We will continue to explore a development path of green finance for the economy of Beijing with the characteristics of Bank of Beijing. Thank you for listening, and I wish this meeting a great success.
谢谢魏德勇先生。下面请大都会集团全球副总裁马思忠先生发言。
Dear Mayor Chen, Vice Mayor Cui, Vice Mayor Yu, dear leaders, friends, good evening. It's a great honor to accept the Beijing Great Wall Friendship Award by Beijing Municipal Government. And it is a great honor to be here today for myself, my family, and the institution I represent. I would like to take this great opportunity to thank the Beijing government for its strong support for the development of foreign enterprises, especially for foreign financial enterprises in Beijing. I've been working in Beijing for many years. I've witnessed the huge changes in China, and particularly in Beijing, brought by the economic development. The earth is our common and only home. It is our bounden duty to protect the earth for ourselves and for our future generations. President Xi's commitment to carbon peak and carbon neutrality fully reflects China's determination to undertake its responsibility as a big nation. It is also one of the most important measures to build the community with a shared future for mankind. Over the past few years, thanks to the remarkable efforts of the Beijing municipal government, Beijing air quality and the environment have improved significantly. I have personally experienced the changes as a citizen of this great city. I'm sure you do too. The financial industry should play a more active role in promoting green economy. And I would like to make a few suggestions in this regards. First, the financial regulatory institutions could actively urge the financial industry to launch more products and services aimed to serve carbon neutrality to meet the growing needs of green development and a green civilization. Secondly, the financial industry should gradually increase the proportion of investments in the field of green industry in their portfolios to support the development of related industries. Thirdly, from the corporate social responsibility perspective, the financial enterprises should take action to reduce their own energy consumption and enhance emission reduction, support customers to make green and low carbon transformation, improve environmental risk assessment, implement relevant policies to support carbon neutrality, and contribute to the carbon emission goal of 2030 and 2060. Although China's green finance has made great progress over the years, looking forward, financial enterprises should put green finance in a more important position in our corporate strategy and the business plan. Finally, I would like to express my gratitude to the Beijing municipal government for the continued support for developing the financial industry in Beijing. I also want to thank the Beijing government for its excellent work in promoting financial reform, innovation, and the market opening. It is my sincere hope that for the purpose of promoting the future opening and development of Beijing's financial industry, Beijing will continue its journey of financial innovation and conducting financial pilot programs under the promise of financial stability. Closing, I want to thank again the Beijing government for giving me this honor. I will continue to dedicate myself to Beijing's economy and more particularly its financial industry development. And I will continue to make efforts for a mutual beneficial and constructive bilateral economic relations between China and the United States. congratulations to all other fellow recipients. Be well, everybody, and thank you very much.
谢谢马思忠先生。下面请空中客车公司原代理首席采购官马福朗先生发言。
Dear Mayor Chen, dear friends and colleagues, it is a great honor to receive the Great Wall Friendship Award of Beijing. This reminds me of my nearly 4 years of work and life in China between 16 and 19, and of the warm welcome I received. There are a lot of things that I can remember clearly even today. Maybe the most impressive thing was the change of the air quality. When I decided to go to China in 2015, many of my friends warned me of the heavily polluted air in China, especially in Beijing. I remember that in the early years when I was in Beijing, air purifier was a must for people there. Face masks were also necessary for the purpose of protecting yourself from polluted air rather than preventing COVID virus like today. But at the time I was to leave China and 19, blue sky has been back. So I can only acknowledge the determination and the efficiency of reducing pollution of the Chinese government. When China announced that it will reach the peak of carbon emission in 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality in 2060, one can only be impressed and confident in the accomplishment of the objective. But I would like to take this opportunity to talk about how the aviation and aerospace industry can contribute to decarbonization. I would like to brief you on our ideas in the following areas: Airbus' philosophy of environmental protection through the whole life of a product, and how this philosophy can be applied to other areas in a city. Our effort in sustainable aviation fuel, and our ambition to launch zero-emission planes in the future. These ideas can also be adapted to managing a city. As for the philosophy of a lifelong environment protection, we consider the environment factor before an aircraft program is launched. We consider the latest technology, the newest material, the state-of-the-art design, and so on. For example, the A350XWB use lightweight composite material to reduce the weight of the plane and to reduce fuel consumption. During the manufacturing phase, our manufacturing process is environmental friendly. We also ask our supplier to be aligned with the industry environmental standard. After we deliver our aircraft to customer, we still cooperate with them in environmental protection. For example, we upgrade our aircraft with new technologies like larger chartlet on the A320 family, which can save about 5% fuel consumption. And finally, we dismantle aircraft in an environmental friendly way. More than 90% of the parts in the plane can be reused after certification. Managing a city is similar to managing a supply chain for aircraft manufacturer. We need to consider all the rings in the chain rather than one single ring. The latest move in our company about decarbonization is to launch a new aircraft program to be powered by burning hydrogen. As you know, by burning hydrogen, the emission is water instead of carbon dioxide. We are searching for partners in this area all around the world, and maybe we can have a cooperation with China in this area. So innovation is very important to decarbonization. In particular, the innovation in green energy is very important. And I can only suggest Beijing to continue taking steps forward in innovation in the area of green energy. And other ideas using new generation of aircraft instead of older ones will reduce emissions around the airport when they are close to the city. Dear Mayor Chen, dear friends, dear colleagues, thank you for offering me the honor. Though I have retired, I would like to continue to contribute to the cooperation between Europe and China. I hope to go to China again sometime in the near future. Best wishes to everybody and to my fellow awardees. 谢谢。
谢谢马弗朗先生。下面请雀巢大中华区董事长罗士德先生发言。
Distinguished Mayor Chen, Deputy Mayor Tree, distinguished guests, and dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure and honor to attend the 15th Great Wall Friendship Award ceremony and receive this prestigious prize. I would like to take this opportunity to share my gratitude to the Beijing government and some of my thoughts and suggestions on the sustainable development of Beijing. I have been in Beijing since October 2016. Over the past 5 wonderful years in China, the thing impressed me the most was the rapid economic development, technological innovation, and digital facilitation that China has experienced. The advantages of China's scale and speed, the ever-improving business environment, have boosted the confidence of many foreign companies to keep investing and developing their businesses in China. Back to the 1980s, Nestle was one of the first multinational companies to establish a presence in China. And today, we are recognized as the first multinational company to have opened a regional headquarters in Beijing. Benefiting from the robust bilateral relationship, China has become Nestle's second largest market in the world. As a leading Swiss company, we have been continuously investing and advancing innovation in nutrition, health, and wellness in China. And more importantly, we strive to address sustainability challenges with efforts to lead the way towards net zero emissions. I am also very pleased to see that the Chinese government has taken admirable and decisive measures since the outbreak of pandemic last year. I'm fully convinced that the impact of the pandemic is temporary. With all these in 2020, even during the COVID, we have not stopped our investment progress in Beijing and China for even one single day. In Beijing, Nestle will continue to contribute the capital's economy by changing from its current governance headquarters to an investment headquarters with an increased registered capital of RMB 3.5 billion. While in Tianjin, we have announced an investment with more than 1 billion RMB to further upgrade our business operations there. We are also glad to see that President Xi Jinping announced the carbon peak and neutrality target last year, which is truly motivating to Nestle, who has a series of ambitious commitments in sustainability area as well. We are championing a broad range of actions from promoting regenerative agriculture and responsible sourcing, using renewable energy, adopting lower emission vehicles in logistics, to driving sustainable packaging, as well as put constant effort for the carbon neutral brands. Beijing has unique advantages in achieving carbon peak across the country. At Nestle, we believe that business results and positive societal impact should be mutually reinforcing. With China pushing ahead ambitious climate targets and Beijing leading the way towards carbon peak, we are delighted to see our perfect alignment of our sustainable strategy and the government agenda, and will proactively engage with local business communities to drive a low carbon future. Thank you very much. Enjoy the evening.
谢谢罗士德先生，也再次感谢各位获奖者的精彩发言。现在请陈吉宁市长讲话。
非常高兴啊， 今天晚上我们以这种特殊的方式，在这里呢，和本届长城友谊奖的15位获奖者相聚云端。长城友谊奖呢是北京1999年开始设立的，是北京市政府授予在京外籍人士的最高荣誉。今年呢是第15届，到目前为止呢，已经有来自30个国家206位外籍人士先后获此殊荣。应该说呢，这个长城友谊奖的设立啊，为推动首都经济社会高质量发展，增进北京与世界各地人民的相互了解和友谊，发挥了积极的作用。这次呢，15位获奖者覆盖了北京经济社会发展的多个方面，包括教育、科技、医疗、金融、制造等行业。在此呢，我代表北京市人民政府向大家表示热烈的祝贺，也对你们为北京做出的突出贡献表示衷心的感谢。今天呢，我们举行这个座谈会啊，情况比较特殊因为新冠肺炎的原因，我看到呢有些获奖者呢是在北京的也有一些呢没有能够来到北京，所以呢，我先把北京的情况给大家这一年的情况做一个非常简单的介绍虽然你们可能有一段时间没到北京了，但是你们呢还是关心北京的发展我也把北京的情况呢做个介绍。那么今年呢是中国共产党成立100周年，北京作为首都我们有2件大事，一个呢就是为100周年庆祝活动做好各种服务保障工作。另一件事情呢，大家可能已经注意到就是我们现在全力在筹办冬奥会。那么可以非常欣喜地告诉大家呢，目前正在进行各种测试赛的这个过程之中。那么一切呢都非常顺利，参加测试赛的各国代表团选手对北京的冬奥会的各方面的设施和防疫保障呢给予了高度肯定。那么我们也相信我们会如期顺利安全的举办好这届北京冬奥会和冬残奥会。另外呢，今年是中国的“十四五”开局之年，每5年我们会制定5年的发展规划。这个规划呢的实施，被证明呢是推动中国发展的行之有效的一个做法。每个规划的第1年尤为重要我们呢讲呢要开好头开好局，就是讲的这个意思。那么从今年前3季度的数据看北京的 GDP 同比增长了10.7%，这个指标在全国排在前3位，这是非常必的这个不仅仅是北京的经济增长表现了强劲的这个经济恢复能力和势头，而且我们的经济结构也在发生快速的变化这个金融业高精尖产业这个增长的速度比 GDP 增长的要快很多，所以我们的质量在发生一些更大的变化。那么另外一个方面呢，变化更突出的就是今年的空气质量 PM2.5 目前呢已经降到了31到32之间这个指标呢来的也很不容易。5年前这个我们预计北京大概在2030年左右才能够达到35左右，那我们现在基本上提前9年 达到这个目标，这是付出了艰辛努力实现。所以大家啊，下次再到北京的时候，会发现北京的天啊更蓝了，空气质量更好了。那么刚才呢，各位获奖者啊，围绕4个方面：汽车产业发展、国际科技创新合作、医药健康产业发展和碳达峰、碳中和发表了真知灼见。这个我听了之后啊，很受启发。这些方面呢，也是北京发展的重点。那么北京的发展是在国家发展的大格局中来进行布局，来进行这个定位的。那么中国未来的发展，大的目标就是2050年实现我们的第2个百年奋斗目标啊，我们的现代化。那么北京的发展是要在实现这个现代化过程之中，怎么推动国家的发展更好的实现现代化。那么中国实现的现代化，按照总书记的要求呢，我们是推动实现人类命运共同体的，不是给这个世界带来更多的问题，带来更多的不平衡，而是要有利于实现人类命运共同体，更好的在中国实现发展的同时，也带动世界各国更好的发展，更好的解决我们面对的各种问题，更加可持续。所以我们在推动北京发展过程中，也关注怎么更好的解决一系列全球性的问题，比如说这个气候变化的问题，比如说这个全球的健康的问题，比如说可持续发展的问题，这都是我们关心的北京呢要发挥重要作用的地方。那么当然我们更加关注北京未来的发展，要跟未来的产业发展的趋势、科技发展的趋势呢相适应，这也是北京发展的优势。北京发展的最大优势就是人才优势，特别是科技创新方面的人才，就是我们要用好这方面优势。那么在这方面呢，我们非常关注数字经济的发展，这个医疗健康的发展，绿色产业的发展。我想这些发展呢，不仅仅会造福推动北京的高质量发展，而且呢也会全世界解决全球性的问题带来有益的帮助。中国过去的发展呢，一个典型的例子就是我们在脱贫上啊，去年呢我们中国实现了全部绝对的脱贫呢，啊，这是对人类的一个非常大的贡献。我也相信呢，我们在其他方面也会对世界人类做出更大的这个贡献。那么在数字经济方面呢，那么我们主要的呢还是如何通过数字经济的发展，给中小企业赋能，推动中小企业的创新，创造更多的公平的就业的机会。我们推动这个人工智能 AI 跟各行各业的深度的融合，比如说跟医疗健康的融合，来推动带动更快的开发新的药物，更好的诊断。所以这个大家可以注意到，是吧？我们这次新冠疫情，我们在疫苗开发上是比较快的。到目前为止，我们已经生产了40亿剂的新冠疫苗，不仅是中国的老百姓能够使用上这些疫苗，而且我们有相当一部分也支援了这个其他国家，特别是发展中国家，这都是我们的着眼点。那么当然在数字经济发展中，我们不仅仅是关心技术我们也关心技术对经济社会，特别是对社会带来的影响。所以我们注重数字经济带来的隐私的问题、隐私保护的问题、数字确权的问题，数字伦理的问题。北京是全球最早的几个城市推出了 AI 的伦理 这个白皮书的一个城市，这也是我们非常关心的一些地方。那么在碳中和方面，北京呢是12年已经达到了这个碳达峰，之后呢，我们现在在峰值在逐步下降，所以我们北京呢，早于中国任何其他城市已经达到了峰值，这个主要通过能源结构调整实现。那么目前呢，我们正在北京达到碳中和的路线图。那么我们也希望北京在碳达峰之后，能够率先在中国带动碳中和这样实现碳中和这样一个示范。所以我们目前呢也有一系列的行动计划，比如说我们开始北京的供电呢，大概70%多是来自于外部，所以我们在这个新的供电的合同上，我们尽可能的开始大规模的购买绿色电源。比如这次冬奥会，我们冬奥会的所有的设施，所有冬奥会的场馆的用电，全部来自于绿电，外府的绿电。我们做我们的最大的这个滑冰的运动场，那么采用的是二氧化碳作为冷冻剂，这是全球第一个用二氧化碳规模化做冷冻剂的，基本实现了碳中和的零排放，碳中和。所以这些呢，都是我们在这个过程之中，希望通过科技的进步，通过示范工程、标杆工程来带动我们更快更好的实现碳中和。那么我们汽车是吧？我们目前新能源汽车新上路的能源汽车量已经超过了传统汽车，每年新上路汽车辆已经超过了传统汽车。我们计划在2025年，北京将有200万辆新能源汽车上路，来减少传统汽车，加快传统汽车的这个淘汰。我们最大的碳中和上挑战是建筑节能，是供暖供热上，所以我们现在也在做一些低值热源的地热啊、低值热源的这个循环使用。像这些方面呢，刚才我看一些专家都提了很好的意见和建议，这些呢都可以纳入到我们下一步的这个工作之中去。那么北京呢，实现现代化，北京下一步发展，最重要的就是对外开放，就是吸引全世界的各方面的人才到北京来，来推动北京的发展。所以你们不仅仅获奖是对你们的一种过去对北京贡献的一种认可，也是希望通过你们呢，来吸引更多的海外人士呢到北京来发展。我们也相信正是通过这种深层次的生活、工作和交流，也使我们来自于不同国家、不同区域的人能够更好的理解，更好的合作。能够更好的来认识我们应该建设一个什么样的社会，国际社会。这个时间的关系我不多讲了，我最后再讲一点呢，就是怎么样，其实今天大家也提了一些，就是怎么样为外国朋友在北京生活更好提供更好的生活帮助除了这个工作方面我们会创造各种机会之外，那么生活方面怎么样大家感到一种家的感觉，这也是我们目前工作的一个重要内容。所以这2年呢，我们在不断的改进，不断的做调查，是吧？那么努力在北京打造一些我们叫国际社区或者内海外环境这个包括一些刚才有些专家也谈了这个问题，怎么样更便利的办手续，是吧？那北京呢，现在是全国唯一的一家这个 外国专家到北京来不论是办工作许可还是居留许可，都可以直接来办理的一个城市。那很多从第三方国家到北京来，可以过境免签144个小时。那么我们呢，也推出了一些服务窗口，专门为海外人士办理各种手续，是吧？给他们提供这个咨询帮助服务。那么最近呢，我们又推出了7语言的北京通。刚才有专家讲，这个在北京语言的环境不是很顺畅，是吧？那我们推出了这个北京通 APP， 就是要努力来创造一种更好的、更精准的服务，让大家呢能够深切地感到北京呢是我们各位外国友人的第二故乡。这个我们也愿意在这个过程中倾听你们的意见，把我们工作做得更好。最后呢，再次对获得本届长城友谊奖的外国友人表示祝贺和感谢，也祝愿各位在京工作生活愉快。也希望目前还没在北京的你们有机会能够再次到北京来，我们热诚的欢迎你们。谢谢大家。
谢谢陈市长。各位嘉宾、各位朋友，第15届长城友谊奖颁奖仪式及座谈交流会到此结束，谢谢大家。